I'm now setting up the little sector shaft adjustment here. And basically you follow what the book tells you to do. You want to get a reading, a rolling torque of the steering wheel. And I've been using this, it's like a point tension gauge, and it's in ounces. So 8 ounces, half a pound, 16 ounces, a full pound. And just do exactly what it says, because you want to get a loose rolling measurement, and then you want to roll it across the high spot. So you want to screw this in until there's no end play on your shaft, and that you increase that rolling torque on your wheel as you go over the high spot by about a half to 3/4 of a pound. And that's what I've got. And I go ahead and tighten this down, and I've recorded all that information. And the next step is we're going to be installing the power piston here in the rack and slide that in there. So that's the next step. Okay, I'm ready to install the assist unit on the rack, and I marked the teeth here. And the book shows you kind of a picture how it goes in, but I temporarily installed it and checked to make sure I had full stroke at about 5 turns from lock to lock. I'm not going to put in the gasket right now just to show you, but let's see if we can get that in there. And that's pretty much how it needs to be. So it's lined up right like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my gasket and my sealer on there and get my bolts, and we'll get this thing put together. Okay, I'm ready to install the thrust plate for the side there. And what I did was, after I took all my rolling torques, I put all the original shims in, checked it, and the resistance was the same. And I kept taking shims out until it actually started getting tight, too tight. And then I started adding shims until I got it's about 4 to 6 ounces more turning resistance than I had when it was loose. So I've got my set how I want it, and now I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. Well, I got all the plates on, I got it fully assembled, I got everything adjusted. I filled it full of 80-90 weight through there. I got all my lines and fittings on, and I'm going to assemble my pump and get my lines out and clean them up, and somehow I got to figure out how to bench test this thing. I haven't figured that out yet, so we'll have to find something to run that pump with, and maybe throw a pressure gauge in there and see where we're at and see if we got any leaks. Well, after all that work I did and got that side cover on, look what I got. I put the oil in it, sat here a couple of days, and the oil's just running out that side cover. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is maybe take a 2000 shim out and then put sealer on both sides of all the shims and seal it up, and then do my torque again and see if I can get this thing to stop leaking, because obviously that is not acceptable. Well, we had the leak on this side cover plate, and what I decided to do is take it all apart, and I took out, these are the shims I actually took out originally to get the right rolling torque. And I was concerned that if I use this anaerobic sealer between each gasket and this, the shim, I mean, that it would increase, my rolling torque would be less because of the, how much space it would take up, the sealer would. But to my surprise, I took another 2000 shim out, and I put this stuff between all the shims and everything, and it did squish out, I would say all but maybe a half thousandths, because that's about what my rolling torque actually got too tight with the shim out, so I had to put it back in with some more sealer. And my rolling torque is really close to where it was. It might be just a titch less. So I'm thinking maybe this stuff only took up maybe a half to 1,000th in gap, even though it was on several layers. So I was kind of surprised about that. I thought sure it would take up a little bit more space, but it does squish out probably 99%, so it's working out good. And now I put the oil back in, and we'll just let it sit here and we will wait to see if it leaks.